What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from Mtg down there, YouTube.com, and Light Magic got some Tuesday Hour of Devastation spoilers, and there's a fair lot of them, so gotta go ahead and get into them. Let's do it. First off, here's the oldest card we haven't covered yet. This one is from last night. Appeal to Authority. The appeal half is green. It's just one green mana for a sorcery. Until end of turn, target creature gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures that you control. Authority, the other half, you'll cast out of your graveyard. It's 2 mana, 1 and a white for a sorcery with Aftermath. Tap up to 2 target creatures your opponents control, and creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. Okay, so Unlimited definitely looks like a super sweet card, and some people are even saying it might see standard play. And, you know, it's at least possible. Only 3 mana to cast both halves is nice. And first half, even though it's sorcery speed, is still pretty decent in the tokens build, and the second half is almost always good. You know, early in the game, you're shutting down 2/3 or a half of your opponent's creatures from blocking, and all your dudes just randomly get vigilance, which is nice in these colors. You got exert creatures in both colors, and especially some good ones in white, too. So, not a bad card, and I love that both halves only cost 3 mana put together. Super nice. I don't like the sorcery speed on either half, but whatever. You know, it still seems like a decent deal. It could see play in a green-white token shell, but it would have to have the slots for it. And right now, if you're building green-white tokens, I'm just not sure that you have probably 2 slots open for a card like this. There's just a lot of good stuff for that deck. So, end of the day, it might see play because it definitely looks powerful. I like both halves of the card. I love the cheap casting cost, definitely, but I'm not sure that it quite has the chops. Like, it might be just one step away from standard playability. And again, I'm not saying the card's bad. I just don't know if it's worth devoting a couple of slots to this in a pretty tight deck list already. But in Limited, yeah, card looks fine. Check out Hollow One right here. This is a 5 mana artifact creature. It's a golem. And it costs 2 less to play for each card you've cycled or discarded this turn. And of course, you can cycle it for 2 mana. There's a couple of cards that only cost like 1 mana to cycle to where you can get this on turn 3. You know, turn 3, cycle Censor, Hieroglyphic Illumination, play this for just 1. That seems okay. Or you could cycle like a Cast Out or something and a Hieroglyphics, and then boom, cast this for just 1. On turn 3, that's not bad. It's not necessarily Mere Enforcer or anything, you know. And most cards cost 2 or more to cycle, so you're not really reducing the cost of this guy. Although you will get extra cards and a 4/4 body. Doesn't seem bad at all. But especially in Limited, we see a bunch of 4/4 bodies running around already. There's Eternalize, you know. So I'm not 100% on the card, although the New Perspectives deck probably wants it. Probably a little bit, at least. All in all, I really want to be super stoked about this card. Like, there's something about this that I really like. I like potentially playing a 0 mana 4/4. All that's good. Or even just a 1 mana 4/4. It's fine by me. So the card looks pretty powerful. I'll just have to actually see it in something or experience it in something for myself before I really pass judgment on it, because the card looks great, but it definitely has to be in the right thing. And New Perspectives could be that thing, or maybe just like a mono red aggro that plays Cathartic Reunion, although I don't know that I like that as much. But in any case, let me know how you feel about this one in the comments, because I feel like this is one of the more debatable cards. I'd say that it's almost no question the card is good. But the actual question is, will it see play outside of New Perspectives? Our Wizards started this morning off by showing us a cycle of lands that I think is awesome. You know, there's been mixed opinion on these all day, but the best I can say is that Painlands are back, and that's kind of cool. So let me show you the cycle of deserts. Each color got its own uncommon desert here. Here's 3 of them, the black one, the red one, and the blue one. Now, they all do different things when you sacrifice a desert and tap a bunch of mana and it. But basically, I first of all, I just like that Painlands are here. Sure, they don't produce 2 colors, but at least they do something else. That's cool. It's always good to have an onboard effect. And really, I think will help Eldrazi decks for the last 3 months, 3.5 months that they're in Standard. So just for that reason, I like these a lot. But let's take a look at the lands individually here. The red one, you can pay 4 and tap it and sacrifice a desert. So you essentially have to have 5 lands at least to be able to do this. And one of them has to be a desert. This is a desert, but you ideally don't want to sack this. It deals 2 to each opponent. That's a little bit of reach. Just a tiny amount of reach. And I will note that none of these come into play tapped, and they very well could have. So it's not like this is worse than Mountain. You know what I mean? Like, if you're playing just mono red or something, especially a mono red aggro deck, I can see why you'd want a 1 or 2 of this, or maybe even a 4 of, because again, I'm not sure that Mountain is better than this. So, I can definitely see that. The black one is pay 4 as well. You can tap it and sack a desert to put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature and opponent controls, but you can only do this one as a sorcery. This one's fine too, honestly. 4 mana is a lot, but it's essentially repeatable removal on a land, which is not bad in any way. And by the way, that'll be good in limited as well, because it's removal, so it's not bad. And then the blue one is pay 1 and a blue and tap it and sack a desert. Target player puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. This is another one, you know, we just saw Fraying Sanity, and I feel like in Standard we have an argument for a mill deck now. And this will definitely be part of it. I mean, especially if it's a mono blue mill deck, this is probably, I won't say that this is strictly better than Island, right? Because it's going to deal damage to you when you tap it for blue, but you won't always tap it for blue. And theoretically, if you have more than a few deserts in your deck, then you can just mill them for like 12, you know, in 3 turns. So it doesn't seem too bad to me, honestly. And I feel like you'll probably play all 4 of these in a mill deck. Well, let's look at the other 2, Shefet Dunes and Hashep Oasis. The white one is Shefet Dunes. You can pay 4 for this one as well. Tap it and sack a desert. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This one is also sorcery speed. This seems fine to me because, again, one more time, and I'll probably do it for the green one too, because, you know. But in a mono-white aggro deck, you know, it definitely seems like this is probably just as good or better than Plains. You might as well play a few copies of this, and it can give your team a buff, which is definitely what you want in mono-white aggro. So I think that's a fine card. Hashep Oasis, the final one here, the green one, you can pay 3, that's 1 and 2 green, and tap it and sack a desert to give a creature a giant growth. +3/+3 till end of turn. This one also sorcery speed. I kind of wish this wasn't sorcery speed, but it's not like it's going to fool anybody. It's not really a combat trick. Even if you could do it in instant speed, your opponent probably still factored that in to the combat math. But still, +3/+3 is no joke. And this one, just like the blue one, is at a little bit of a discount. You know, the 3 of them cost 4. The blue one costs 2. This one costs 3, which I think is fine. It's not as good as a creature land, but still okay. I mean, a buff to a dude, and that's a pretty big boost, is not a bad card at all. So I think that all 5 of these will probably see some amount of play. The only thing keeping them from seeing play that I could imagine at all is that we want to play basic lands in decks for certain reasons, you know. But we definitely want them for a cycle of duels that's in Standard currently that cares about basic lands. So there's that, and a Tomb with Ether sees play in a lot of decks, and that needs basic lands too. So Traverse the Elven Wall before Delirium, that needs, you know, got to have basic lands to search up for that. So I'm just not sure how many of these go in a given deck, but I'd say that all of them could see some amount of play. Hey, while we're talking about deserts, here's Endless Sands. Don't look directly at it. That is bright art. It is also a desert. You can tap it for a Colas, or you can pay 2 and tap it to exile a creature that you control. You can also pay 4 and tap it and sacrifice it to return each creature card exiled with Endless Sands to the battlefield under its owner's control. So we've seen various things like this throughout Magic history. It's just basically store a dude and then bring him back later. You know, they try to spot remove a guy, you can save him real quick, exile him, and then bring him back later. Good for, you know, when you're trying to wrath the board with your own cards. Good when they wrath the board with their cards. And so, you know, if they cast anything that just sweeps the entire board, save a guy. It's not bad at all. And then later, bring them all back in, preferably with enter the battlefield effects. So it's not like this is a new concept, but I do like the design space we're seeing with deserts. I've seen a bunch of deserts in this set, and like a fair lot of them are at least somewhat considerable for constructed play. So I'm not 100% sure on this one at all, but I do think it's probably a new EDH staple. Now here's a bad card. This is Imminent Doom right here. It's 3 mana, 2 and a red for an enchantment. Imminent Doom enters the battlefield with a Doom counter on it. Whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of Doom counters on Imminent Doom deals that much damage to target creature or player. Then put a Doom counter on Imminent Doom. So many Dooms. Sing the Doom song. Basically, since that's an awful lot of text, you'll interplay with a counter on it, and then you have to cast a 1 mana spell. Like, let's say you cast Lightning Bolt. Well, then your opponent will take 1 damage, right? And you'll get another Doom counter on Imminent Doom. So next turn, when you cast Lightning Strike, or whatever you do, you know, you'll deal 3 to them with the Lightning Strike. You'll deal 2 to them with Imminent Doom, and you'll get a 3rd Doom counter. And then you'll cast like Char or something. Deal 4 to them with the Char, 3 to them with Imminent Doom, then you'll put another Doom counter on it, then you have to cast a 4-mana spell. And it's any spell. I've just used Burn as an example, but you can cast creatures, you can cast artifacts, it really doesn't matter here. Any spell, as long as it's the same converted mana cost as the number of Doom counters on Imminent Doom, you get damage out of it. That's bad, probably. 3 mana red enchantment that you have to do an awful lot of work to make work, and you have to have the exact right cards in your hand, and I don't know, man. I wish that I had more to say about this, because some people want to make it work, but the vast opinion so far by the community is this card is bad, and I tend to agree with that. And I'm sure somebody in the comments will have a thing, like, I'll just use Brain in a Jar. I don't even know if that works. Use Brain in a Jar. It does. Or like Etherworks Marvel, that's banned. I'm sure somebody, though, in the comments will have some kind of thing that makes us do 100 damage in one turn sequence. I'm sure, but from what I'm seeing right now, card is just not great. And it's like they have to print a 3-mana red enchantment in every set that's just like not good. Here it is. I actually sometimes though have a sneaking feeling, like a sinking sensation, that like we're supposed to be doing something with all these red enchantments. Like Wizards is over there like, why haven't they figured out Harness the Storm yet? Or like, what is it, Hazaret's Favor, I want to say. I'm probably wrong, but it's like a 3-mana red enchantment from Amonkhet that like gives one of your dudes +2/+7 haste and then kills it. Like, are we supposed to be doing something with these Wizards, or are they really just bad? Because they kind of seem bad. Here's the penultimate card of the day right here. Next to last is Maw of Chaos. That's a cool name. It's 7 mana, though. That's a lot of mana. 5 and 2 red for a 6/6 Hellion. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each other creature. Okay, hear me out. You're never, ever, right, going to hardcast this card. But, again, in a Reanimator strategy, I don't think that it's bad to maybe carry a 1 of this in the main deck, or even a 1 of this in the sideboard. And keep in mind, by the way, in this Reanimator deck that I keep referencing, you'll have Razaketh. So you could theoretically play a 1 of these just in the main, this guy right here in the main board. And then if you need to, you can go search it up with Razaketh, dump it into your graveyard, and then reanimate with Liliana or something. Probably not the best deal. Looks like a bulk red rare. Not a big fan, but I've really been processing this Reanimator deck for the last week here. And with that in mind, I actually think this could make a decent 1 of, or even 1 or 2 of in the board at the very least. I could see it in the 75. The last card of the day, and it might actually be my favorite card of the day. I do like all those Painlands, and I do like Hollow One, but this is neat. This is Hour of Promise right here. It's 5 mana, 4 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then, if you control 3 or more deserts, create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So it would appear as though a lot of people are misreading this card for an understandable reason. Usually, you aren't able to just go get whatever lands you want to. A lot of people think that this is just a more expensive explosive vegetation that might get you zombies. It's actually not. Explosive vegetation is basics only. This, again, allows you to go get any 2 lands that you want from your deck, which is traditionally extremely powerful. Like, Primeval Titan is banned in EDH. And yeah, Primeval Titan is like repeatable, like you can get it on the attack step, you can blink it for ETBs and stuff. So it's really abusable. This is less so, but still, any 2 dang old lands that you want. That seems pretty good. And people on message boards have already brought up a couple of cool interactions here. You can bring out Dark Depths and Thespian Stage at the same time. That's nice. You can bring out Urborg and Cabal Coffers at the same time. That seems pretty sweet too. And even in Standard, we've got a bevy of sweet lands that you might want to just tutor up, that you can just play 1-ofs as long as you're playing this card. So I think 5 mana is an awful lot for a ramp card. I do. But some ramp decks play like Nissa's Renewal, and that's like a 7 mana ramp card or 6 mana ramp card. This at 5 still seems at least decent to me. Air conditioner just kicked on. Sorry about that, but I live in Georgia, and it's like 90 degrees, and it's the end of June, so I'm going to deal with it for the next 2 minutes while I finish up this video. But what I will say is in Standard, it's pretty easy to get 3 deserts out, especially when you just go grab a couple of deserts with this, put them straight into play. So not hard to make 4 power with this card either if you want to. So not too tough, but I'm not even that worried about the zombie text on this card at all. I just think in EDH especially, And maybe some people are saying in Modern, but 5 mana is so much. 5 mana is just ridiculous. But especially in EDH, this card could definitely see a ton of play. Like a ton of all of the play in EDH. So get ready for that. But I think there is an argument for it in Standard, especially if we see some really good lands. That's all the cards for Tuesday, so far at least. I'm tapped out for this one. Your turn. Let me know how you feel down there in the comments section about all these. Do you guys like those Desert Painlands? I do. I certainly do. I like that new, go get any 2 lands. That seems crazy. Is Hollow one decent? How good is Appeal to Authority? Like, there's so many interesting cards today that I want your opinion on, too. I'm not the only one doing this out here, man. It's you. You got to tell me things, too. So learn me some stuff. If I miss some interactions, then I'll get to you down there in the comments. But anyway, here's other stuff you can do. You can like the video if you enjoyed the video. That helps me out in search results. You can also check us out on the Twitter at SBMTG Dev. You can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/SBMTG. And you should also subscribe and hit the bell to get all the notifications on the videos. That's the YouTube stuff right there. And I'll see you guys later. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.